Welcome back to the 90s podcast hosted by yours truly, Kevin Thompson, founder and CEO of 99 Capital Group. Thank you guys for joining me. As I always say, subscribe to the channel. As I always say, go and get my book, MLB to CFP, live on Apple and Amazon. You have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can email us at info@99capitalgroup.com. Send us your questions. Go to the website at www.99capitalgroup.com. Schedule your appointment. As you know, we're here to do what? Educate, empower, engage, and also entertain. Follow us on all social media channels at 99cap or at MLB to CFP. And follow us on Substack. Now what? So today we're talking about the industry. And I'm bringing on someone that doesn't need an introduction. Chelsea Ransom-Cooper, Zenithal Partners, phenomenal person. She's a CFP Board member. She does things on CNBC. She does things on all these different channels. She is a wealth of knowledge. And I wanted to bring her on because I just want to give her flowers. So today, Chelsea Ransom-Cooper, welcome to the show. Let's get it. We have my girl, Chelsea Ransom-Cooper, Zenith Wealth Partners. You know what? So I'm gonna say this. So I had Jason on the panel, and I said, Jason, how did you get such a wonderful acquisition? Like, where did you find Chelsea? So that's where we're gonna start this conversation, because I want to know how in the hell did he find someone like you? I mean, it's amazing. I mean, what happened? Like, how did that Jason Ray and Chelsea relationship like come to light?
Yeah, so that's a really good question.
Yeah.
So Jason and I met, I believe, in 2018.
Yeah.
At the time, Jason was at a company called Carnegie. I was at a company called Baker Avenue.
Yeah.
And I had just gotten into the profession. I was an associate advisor. And I was starting to, get my bearings in the industry. But
Yeah.
transparently, Kevin, I was like, I don't know any other Black people in this industry. And I was like, I really want to make sure like I have peers and
Yeah.
people I can connect with. So I remember I reached out to a friend of mine and I was like, hey, you've been great, but like, do you know any Black people in this space? And anyone who's like close in age to me. At the time, I was in my mid-20s.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, yeah, there's this guy, Jason Ray. Like, he's not in New York because I was in New York at the time. They're like,
Yeah.
he's in Philly, but you should reach out to him. So I literally just sent him a cold message on LinkedIn. And I was like, hey, Jason, you don't know me, but, want to connect with other people, have peers in this space. Would love to grab some time and just introduce myself and just see how we could support one another. And then from there, he was like, actually, I'm going to be in New York in 2 weeks. Let's grab lunch. So then he came over and we ended up getting lunch. It's so funny because I actually went over to that spot a few weeks ago and I
Yeah.
was so glad it actually survived through the pandemic.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we had lunch there and he told me he was in town. He was meeting with some people because he wanted to create his own asset management company and wealth management company. So he was trying to, get some ideas, have some conversations with people, to figure out how it was going to work.
Yeah.
So fast forward a few months later, he came back again and he was like, hey, Chelsea, I'm planning to quit my job in the next few months and I'm actually going to create this firm. I was like, Jason, that's amazing. That is great to hear, like cheering you on.
Yeah.
And then he came back again and he was like, I quit my job. Like shingles are open. And we're about to help people get started investing. And I was like, Jason, investing is important, but like, you got to make sure you have a plan too. Like, you need to make sure you understand their goals and everything. And he was like, do you want to like do this together? And at the time, this was before the pandemic and everything. I was living in New York. New York is incredibly expensive.
Yeah.
And the timing wasn't right for me. So I
Mm-hmm.
was like, no, I don't think now's the right time. I really do want to continue learning at the firm that I was working for and continue to learn how to be a really excellent advisor. So then Jason created the firm that was in September 2019. But we always stayed in touch. And then anyone who didn't reach that minimum that we had
Mm-hmm.
at that prior firm, I would refer to Jason. And I would ask them, I was like, by the way, how's it going? They're like, oh, Jason's great. He's so personable. He's so likable. Like, this has been a really enjoyable experience. So when the pandemic came around and I started to realize where I was working just wasn't the right fit for me. I caught up with Jason again. I was like, we should revisit that conversation that we had a little while ago. And then that's when we really started to think about, what a partnership would look like, how we would work together. And then in September 2020, that's when I quit that job. And then we went full steam ahead on our partnership together.
That is amazing. I wish that was me because I'm jealous. I told her, I'm jealous, man. I don't know how you did it to get someone like her. What I mean, you're an industry shaker. Like you're moving in places that I only wish to be able to get and involved in. Like you're on these TV shows, you're doing the CFP ambassadorship and all of that. I mean, it's just on
Yeah.
the boards and things like that. You're doing phenomenal things. So let's just go there. The CFP, you constantly hear the LinkedIn chatter about people saying, oh, screw the CFP. We don't need it anymore. And
Yeah.
again, I'm going to be on the side of the fence saying, hey, if you're a successful advisor and maybe you're 65 years old, hey, more power to you. But
Yeah.
one thing I will say is that I don't have the luxury of saying that. I'm not sure. And I can
Hmm.
say we don't have the luxury of saying that because we will not be in the seats or be the ability to be on certain channels to be in front of certain groups without having that CFP moniker by our name. So
Yeah.
I'm giving this to you. What if you personally, what does the CFP mean to you?
Yeah. And the CFP has had some evolutions. And even
Yeah.
when I was going through the education, I really felt like it helped like a very specific clientele, right? Like as you were
Yeah.
talking about, like those 65-year-olds or maybe those people who are 10 years out from retirement, which
Yeah.
is who the majority of our industry is working with anyway, right? Like I think the CFP does a great job there. But I
Hmm.
do think when it comes to helping like wealth builders, there are some gaps in like the education and how we're coached to work with people. And I think that's why there's great, certifications like the AFC and like the financial therapist or like the financial counselor designations. But
Yeah.
I think the CFP is really like the gold standard when it comes to wealth management and
Yeah.
helping people understand the importance and the value of holistic planning, right? And every element and really being that air traffic control of somebody's financial life. So it's not just cash flow and debt payments, but we're looking at estate, investments, insurance, tax. I'm preaching to the choir here. So, but I think all of those elements are just so important to help individuals and especially people who look like you and I, as they're graduating and reaching the next levels of success, they need to have somebody who knows how to work and coach them through those more complex elements successfully so that they will continue to work with people like you and me.
Yeah, and I also I agree with you there. But what I also say is that some of those advisors who are constantly disparaging the CFP moniker and what it stands for because of certain views it may take and all this
Yeah.
other stuff. I will consistently say, well, more power to you. You have the right to feel the way you feel, but I can't feel that way because much like our ancestors who were walking this to get us to be able to vote. I vote
Hmm.
for not only for that reason, but I vote for the fact that people died for us to do this. People marched for us to do this. People put their
Yeah.
lives on the line to do this. And the same thing goes to the CFP moniker, LeCount Davis, and all these other guys. They put their souls out there for us to be able to do this. And hey, I'm not going to disparage something because someone else doesn't agree with this. That's just my 2 cents. I know I don't want to.
I
Hey,
think you're right.
I'm getting off my soapbox now.
No, but I think you're right. I think you're right. And I do wonder where, because people are going to need that higher touch, more in-depth level of support. I do believe like as we're seeing wealth and what wealth looks like in this country, like we are going to need more people who have that more complex understanding of financial knowledge and expertise, especially on tax and estate and overall investment strategies too. But I also do understand that, if a few people haven't had a good relationship with the CFP, that can make like this negative feeling around it. But I really encourage people to do their research, make sure you talk to multiple people, get a better understanding, and also understand that where people work can sometimes impact, how they're performing too. We're RIAs, right? So we have a different we're coming to the table with a different lens versus people in broker dealers or wirehouses or insurance companies. So I think it's important to make sure you understand, where they're working and how that could impact their advice and their persona too.
So you're with an RIA now.
Yeah,
That transition, how scared were you when you made that first transition? Because I know it's not one of those things where it's like, hey, I lost 15 pounds, by the way. I lost 15 pounds on my,
really?
yeah, I really
Okay.
did. Because got hit with the cease and desist letters and all this other
Oh
stuff.
yeah.
And I'm like, man, this is crazy. But talk to me about that transition because I'm sure people want to hear it.
Kevin, I was terrified. I was
Yeah.
terrified because you know how it is in this business. Like as soon as you tell somebody, and I told my manager and I was terrified to tell him. I told him on a Monday morning
Yeah.
and he sighed and he was like, Chelsea, he's like, you know what we got to do? I was like, I know. I went and grabbed my bag, kept it pushing, had to
Yeah.
leave the office. And at the time I was in Soho for like anyone who knows New York. So I worked in Soho in Manhattan, but I lived in Brooklyn and I
Yeah.
walked all the way home because I was like, I cannot believe what I've done. I was like, I
Yeah.
just quit a job, a family office, wealth management company in Soho, living a good job, living a good life. And now I was like, and now I have nothing. I'm
Yeah.
taking no clients because I don't want to get sued. So
Yeah.
like I'm truly just starting from ground zero. And it was terrifying. And I gave myself a day to sulk and be like, what have I done? And then about by Wednesday, I was like, all right, it's time to get to work. Like it's time to start calling people, start moving. I know Jason and I had a call and I was like, okay, where are we starting? And he was like, we're starting from the ground. And I was like, all right, well, let's build this together. I think at the time he was like, hey, we got Right Capital, we got Advice Pay, we had TD Ameritrade,
Hmm.
um, and we got Wealth Box, and that was about it.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, well, let's build all this together. So it was terrifying though, but I say the pandemic and like that 2020 era, it was such a good time to be broke
Yeah.
because like everyone else was like hot, they were in the house, they were trying to make sure they were staying healthy.
Hmm.
So it was the perfect time to kind of struggle a little bit because everyone was kind of going through it. And
Hmm.
then coming out of it on the other side is when we really started to see more success and I was able to have a better balance.
Well, I know the feeling because I came out after that. It's a little bit started my firm. I mean, I got hit with the letters, and I've had some very frank conversations with certain people about those very letters. By the way, I mean those conversations can't be repeated. But I had some
Yeah.
very frank conversations, and and again, it's a life change because you don't know where you're going, right? You don't know
Yeah.
what's in front of you. You don't know what revenue looks like. And by the way, so the health insurance and all the other stuff coming down the pike, like it's like
Yes.
all these different things, like you don't necessarily take into consideration, but it's a
Yeah.
must, right? So I don't know. I mean, so what was your first thought after like you got home, you talked to Jason, all the other stuff. Now it's
Yeah.
like, okay, what was your first move to get new clients in the door?
Yeah. So even as Jason and I were having conversations on the back end, I was starting to talk to people and starting to just shop around
Mm.
ideas for like what the client service would look like. So
Yeah.
I created like this little one pager in Canva and I was like, hey, this is what I would do. This is the cost. Like, would you be interested in it? And I did the math and I was like, if 30 people say yes to this, I can cover my rent, my utilities,
There you go.
and a little bit for groceries.
Hmm.
So that was also, it gave me a lot of courage and confidence because I hit 30 by September. I actually hit it by Labor Day. I just delayed my quitting for another 2 weeks because I was just so nervous about it.
Hmm.
But that gave me the confidence. So that Wednesday after, the dust had settled, those were the first people I called.
Yeah.
I called them all and I was like, hey, remember we had that conversation? I told you to wait a second. Well, now is that time. And I was really happy that I had at least three people sign up within the first week. So
Hmm.
three of the people on that list signed up in the first week. I had six, so I was averaging like three new people from that list for the first 6 months. And then on top of that, had some advisors that actually had a wait list, and they were like, "Look, we want to make sure that you guys are able to succeed." So they added us actually to their wait list. So
Hmm.
anyone who didn't want to wait for that advisor, they encouraged them to reach out to us. So that also really helped us build up our pipeline for some of our first clients.
That's awesome. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I waited probably a year too long while I was doing my
Yeah.
thing. Because I wanted to feel like how I wanted to feel the weight of the expenses. You know what I mean? I said, okay,
Yeah.
I'm taking on my own health insurance. I'm taking on my own e-money. I'm taking. And I wanted to feel what that felt like before I walked
Hmm.
out the door. And when I did that for about 6 to 8 months, I was like, okay, I'm good to go. Of course, I had my CFP at the time. I said, boom, see you later.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. I'm not saying you got to do it that way, but I wanted to feel it because the last thing you want in this business is to go out on something and be like, oh my God, this is if the weight gets heavy, right?
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. I think the reason why I was more open to doing it that way is because I did also have job offers. Like
Yeah,
people were willing to hire me, but I felt like the clientele that I wanted to service, they said you can do that as like a side thing, but like that's not our main thing. And I was like, no, I
gotcha.
want this to be the main thing.
Yeah,
So I think in my head, I was like, if it doesn't work out, like I know I could go back and get a job somewhere else. And,
yeah.
I wouldn't probably enjoy it as much, but like I would be able to financially take care of myself. So I think that also gave me the courage where, I felt like I could go back to some of those offers and say, hey, I wanted to try something on my own. It didn't work. I would love to take that offer again. But I really just wanted to see and probably prove them wrong a little bit of like, no, this doesn't need to be like a thing you do on the side. Like this can be a main thing and be very successful.
What was the main reason? Like, if you had to give one reason why you left, like, hey, this is the reason. Like, what was the main reason for you leaving? For you leaving the family office?
Yeah, I think the main reason was there was this client that I was working with at the time. They were a great young family in New
Hmm.
York. Their company had actually just they had a tender offer, so there was some equity and they got a payout and they bought a house. They had about $500,000 in assets. And it was underneath the firm's minimum at the time. So they
Hmm.
told me to take the call and have the conversation with them. And then I did. And then I closed the client. And then they were like, oh, shoot. They're like, well, we don't really want to work with them. And I was like, why? I was like, he has, you know, they're investing, they're young, they were under 40, they have
Hmm.
stock options, they're going to get more tender offers. And they were like, well, they have no money. And it was just like in that moment, I was like, this is like my ideal client I would love to work with. Like they were
Yeah.
fun, they were engaging, they were challenging. And I was like, we're not on the same page. And I continuously tried to encourage them and show them how we could do this work. And I talked to a mentor at the time, and they're like, Chelsea, you're trying to get them on your page when you just need to realize who they are. Like
Yeah.
they've showed you the type of work that they want to be in. And you have to acknowledge that either you need to get on board or you got to get off the ship. And I
Hmm.
think that was the moment where I realized I was like, I really do want to work in a space where the clients that I think are important are the priority.
Gotcha. Well, that's the reason why I left as well because I was told you can't do tax planning, you can't do planning. You just sell, you just
Yeah.
sell. So phenomenal, phenomenal. So again, Chelsea, Zenith Wealth. I got a couple more questions for you if you don't mind. I like to keep these
Yeah.
short. Um, Joining the CFP board, what does that mean to you, and how has that changed your perspective on just the overall CFP in itself?
Yeah. So as a CFP board ambassador, really my goal and our mission is to educate the public on
Mm,
how financial planning with CFP professionals can help people achieve their financial goals. So helping them understand the role of a CFP,
mm,
what are their jobs and expectations. I think the core elements are understanding that a CFP looks at things holistically and helps people understand and align their values with their goals and help them reach success, right? Like being that GPS to help people reach their North Star.
yeah.
And I think it's been helpful with a lot of the work that we're doing in the media. Like I know you've talked about like some of the stuff I've done with like CNBC and Good Morning America and all these things, but I think it's
Congratulations, by
important.
the way. Like
Thank you.
you're really good. You are really good at that stuff. And I'm like, gosh, she's so good at it. It makes me mad. I go loud like, man, damn it. No, congratulations though, for real.
No, I appreciate it. But
Yeah.
I think that stuff is really important to show people, hey, this is what a certified financial planner looks like. Because I
Mm,
do think sometimes there's still that impression that it's that old stuffy guy and that mahogany office,
yeah.
with that stiff suit and somebody on the golf course. And I think the elements of, what financial planning looks like have evolved so much.
Yeah.
And it's important for people to know that they can get advice that is going to be like empathetic and understanding, and it's not going to necessarily like make them feel bad or be condescending
Hmm.
to them. So I think that's what's really important about the work we're doing as ambassadors.
So I love what you're doing. Like I said, I was happy the day when they announced it because I was like, oh, she's a wonderful person. I've seen you grow. And again, we don't know each other like that, but I feel like you're like we do. You know what I mean? but it's like seeing you
Yeah,
grow. And I feel like every time you grow and Zenith does its thing, I feel like it's like it's like you're kicking down a door for people like me. I
yeah,
appreciate that. The growth of Zenith. Tell me about like from 2019, 2020 to now, like the levels of growth. You guys are operating what in the charitable space, like you guys are doing some
yeah.
stuff there. Talk to me a little bit around what you guys are seeing in your growth from that perspective.
And I think the great thing about Zenith is we're continuously evolving based on what we're
Mhm.
hearing from our clients. So when
Yeah.
Jason and I partnered, Jason was really focusing on, investment management and helping clients understand the different strategies. And then myself more focused on financial planning. And I would say now it's also kind of shifted more towards, just advice. How are we helping people get high quality advice and
Hmm.
being more targeted towards our clients, which are individuals and families, business owners looking to grow and scale, and then also nonprofits and foundations that are looking to align their investments with their values.
Okay.
So understanding that all of those core elements are who we're serving, and we're multiple practices, but in one firm, all with the same mission to help people make smart and impactful financial decisions. And of course, with a mission also to generate $1 billion in wealth for our clients. So we typically track that based on appreciation in accounts, net worth growth, and also just increases in business valuations. Because we do know, so many people who are women and people of color are growing successful businesses, but if they can't get liquidity or access to capital, their biggest asset may not be able to turn into a true wealth building tool. So all of those really align with our mission to generate $1 billion of wealth. And it's
Mm.
just so much more than just AUM, right? Like we're really impact focused.
Uh, so you said a lot there. 'Cause I know you work, like you said, endowments and charitable giving,
Yeah.
charities and things like that. You guys are growing in the right direction. Young firm, still growing over $100 million, which is
Yep.
fantastic. I'm trying to get there myself. I'm looking to double hopefully next year. I got a lot in the pipeline, which is great. So one thing, because you were once a young advisor. Well, you still are
Yeah.
young. You still
I'm
are
so
young.
young. I'm
Yeah,
so young.
you're
Yeah.
still young, but you were once. So we say young as an experience. You're once a
hmm
young, inexperienced advisor. What are some of the things you would tell those young advisors today? The same thing that you went through, but just
Yeah.
like, what would you tell a young Chelsea Ransom Cooper when she walked in that door into the financial industry?
Yeah. I would tell her to be patient, but also be hungry.
Mhm.
Um, Always advocate for yourself, even in spaces that are uncomfortable. I think it's important to also understand, where you're trying to go and making sure that you're getting the learnings that are expected. So some really good advice that I got from a mentor was, be a sponge and make sure you learn everything about the business, right? Be encouraged to learn about operations, investment strategy, the planning, the advice, communication with clients. Like there's no small task,
Mhm.
because really to be an excellent advisor and to hopefully one day be a practice owner, like you really need to understand every element of the business to really be successful, but also to build confidence in your abilities. Because when you have that confidence, it's so much easier to sell or to do business development when you really feel confident in your worth, your advice, and your values. Then it doesn't really feel like business development at all. So I think those are the elements that I would say to focus on, but be patient. This business does take a long time. It is not quick. It is not something where you can just get in 2 years. There are elements where it takes time. I was thinking about it. I started my CFP in November 2016.
Mhm.
So if that whole process will be almost 10 years now. I know my experience has been fast, but I know a lot of people, it takes time to really get into a rhythm and a groove and being consistent. So I think being patient is important, but also advocating for yourself and making sure you're learning everything you can about this business.
Uh, Last question, because this just popped in my head. 'Cause I have a lot of
Yeah,
thoughts. I got because you see with my antenna, here's my antenna popping up
yeah,
here, right? Um, what was one thing that you said, "Oh my God, I did not know that." When you went on your own, like one thing you're like,
yeah,
"Man, I didn't know that. I didn't see that coming." Is there one thing like I didn't see coming? Like I could
yeah,
say for me, like again, we could talk about the costs and everything else that's associated with it, but it's just like whether it be the auditors and like the QuickBooks, like knowing that you have to have your accounting and everything set up.
Yes,
Like those are the types of things that if you don't know that, it can bite you in the ass really quickly.
truly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the bookkeeping and compliance
Like
are
basically
too
just running a
humbling.
business. Running a
Literally,
business and being a financial
because
advisor are two different things, right?
two different things. And that's why
Right.
I was like, I am an incredible, I've always had confidence in myself as an advisor. I think being a business owner was the element I had to learn.
Yeah.
Like that was the piece that I was not experienced in. And I think those are the elements that were really tough. Also managing people.
Mm-hmm.
Here at Zenith, we're a team of 10 now. They don't
Ooh,
teach you that.
congratulations.
That's not part of the
Congratulations.
CFP. Managing people is not part of the CFP program. So
Yeah. 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 And
learning how to do that.
again, that's the main thing. Like keep the main thing. But again, either eventually what's going to happen to each and every one of us? We're either going to be a financial advisor or we're going to be a business owner. You got to pick a lane eventually. Eventually.
Yeah.
Now, that's one thing that people don't understand when we could do both. Yeah, you can, but you can do both very
Yeah.
poorly. And you're just going to be, but
Yes.
again, that's where I'm at. But
I think you're right.
Chelsea, thank you so much for this. I know it's a short week we got ahead of us right now. I appreciate you joining. Any last words of wisdom from I call you the gift because you are a gift for us.
Absolutely. Well, Kevin, I just wanted to say thank you for having me. Honestly, the last thing I would say is, especially to younger people, continue to learn, continue to be a sponge, understand how you can add value, figure out who your client avatars are, and lock in on that. Figure out what your zone of genius is, what your technical expertise is,
Hmm.
what's something special where people are only coming to you, and really do a lot of business research to figure out, if people are even interested in your services and what really sticks out to them if they are, so that you can really hone in and figure out the type of advisor that you want to be.
And I'm gonna add, just read. Just be a
Yeah.
sponge. Just read. It doesn't have to be business stuff. Doesn't have to be financial related. But just read. Engage your mind because that allows to have conversations like this. Chelsea, Zenith Wealth Partners, thank you for joining us on the 90s podcast. I appreciate your time. You're our wonderful, wonderful example of where we're all trying to go. Thank you again. We had Chelsea Ransom-Cooper of Zenith Wealth Partners on the show today, talking about the CFP, talking about her growth in this industry, talking about what it means to be her and what younger advisors should be expecting when they're going out on their own. This is a huge difference that needs to be understood. Business ownership, financial advisor, many of us try to intertwine them, but ultimately, eventually, those things can no longer coexist. So let's have that conversation, especially if you're a younger advisor. Thank you guys for joining me. Subscribe to the channel. Go and get my book, MLB to CFP, live on Apple and Amazon. You have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can email us at info@99capitalgroup.com. Send us your question. Go to the website at www.99capitalgroup.com. Schedule your appointment. As you know, we're here to do what? Educate, empower, engage, also entertain. Follow us on all social media channels at 99cap or at MLB to CFP. And subscribe to our new Substack. Chelsea, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. Keep doing what you're doing. You are motivating everyone that you come in contact with. Stay humble, stay safe, my friends. I'll see you again soon.